everybody. Did you hear the news? Well, there's actually quite a bit of news over the weekend that we're going to go over today on League on Lock. And my name is Eric Kummel, here to guide you through the plethora of news, highlights, and actions that happened over the weekend. And we got to start off in the lovely land of the LPL, where they had their semifinals. Over in China, they continue to be a couple weeks behind all the other major and minor regions across the scene. But semifinal action, the most hype matchup, went down on Saturday. RNG taking on Invictus Gaming. RNG were the only team to hand IG a loss in the regular season. Came all the way back in week one. The main story in this one was the Shy did not play in any of these matchups, still dealing with a bit of an injury, so they had Duke in that top lane. And you got to think the series might have gone a different way if the Shy started in the top lane. Starting off in this game one, which was a wild one. It had an absolutely absurd ending, way back and forth. RNG looking to close it out with 5 members, but they got no minions, so they're not doing any damage to this turret. Jackie Love and Ning are there to defend, and they clean house. Jackie Love just completely destroys Uzi in a couple of shots. This is late game, so we're two-shotting people. Duke eventually TPs into the base, and there's no turrets, so easy backdoor. IG come from the brinks of defeat to take game one, but it didn't deter RNG in game two. Uzi on the Kaisa was an absolute animal, and he was just an animal this series. Game two, he gets his pentakill on Kaisa. He finished with 13 kills in this game, a beautiful scoreline of 13 1-1. That's the dream scoreline if you're an AD carry. Steal all the kills, get all the last hits, get super fed, win the game in pretty convincing fashion. Game 3, RNG were losing pretty much all game until this team fight, where Xiaohu on the Vladimir and Uzi again on the Kaisa gets in the backline. They completely delete Jackie Love. That team fight would lead the Baron for them, and they'd be able to close out the game from there. Kaisa, again, the theme is she has dominated playoffs across all major regions. Luckily for IG, they learn and they ban it in game 4, which means Uzi is on the Kog'Maw, and IG have a really solid start to this one, and an even better early start than in game 3, and this time they're able to deliver on that early game lead. Despite Uzi trying his very best, Jackie Love comes away with a triple in that team fight, and IG would close it out from there over that big team fight. So we're going to game 5. We are going to game 5. 3-0 start for the Scion mid for Xiaohu. Zitai on the Singed. And, I mean, they can't mid for Xiaohu on the Scion. He got way ahead. And that was pretty much the story. An immovable object of the Scion. And when you get that ahead, he got a banner of commands so early on. There's not much that you could do. Yeah, they banned out Kaisa again, but it was Uzi on the Varus, who's fine with that, with an insanely fed front line. And just like that, RNG are going to their 5th, that's right, 5th LPL final. IG only dropped their 2nd best of series on the year. And again, you got to think if the Shy's in that lineup, things might go a little differently, considering how close this series was with him out. And definitely he would have performed better than Duke. Not that Duke was that bad, but the Shy would have been much better. With that, the player of the series on this one, no doubt, goes to the man in the bot lane, Uzi, the face of RNG, and has been for a while now. Some absurd numbers, way more than half of the team's kills. Again, when you go 13-1-1, you're going to have a lot of the team's kills. Pentakill on Kaisa, the first 3 games, even in the losses, he looked super solid. He was 6-3-3 in Kog'Maw on that 4th game. Well, playoffs come around, this guy usually turns it on. Yeah, he's kind of got a bit of a history of kind of choking in these big games. Well, he did not choke in the semifinals at all, and he's off to the finals to hopefully get his first LPL title for him. Still absolutely absurd that he hasn't, but again, 5th straight trip to the finals for RNG. The other semifinals in the LPL, EDG taking on Rogue Warriors. Obviously, EDG, pretty big favorites coming into this one. Clear Love just returned to the lineup coming into the last round of the playoffs, but it was Haro who's getting the start in that jungle for the first game, and he looked pretty good. EDG kind of just got a 5-0 start in this one and completely dumpstered Rogue Warriors in this one. This game was not close. Mouse obviously playing his former team on EDG, and Ray making his playoff debut with them. iBoy continues to be an absolute animal, and they had 20 kills in 25 minutes. Not total kills, EDG alone had 20 kills in 25 minutes. Game 2, we had a Kindred. Haro on the Kindred, that's an interesting choice, but we had this insane team fight that lasted for pretty much ever. You had the Kindred ult on 7 players here. It eventually resulted in an ace at 14 minutes for EDG, but Rogue Warriors did come back into it, but then you had a Baron steal from Scout on the Talia, and then EDG cleans up with 4 kills. Rogue Warriors got back from that rough start, got back into the game, but this Baron steal killed their chances, and the 4-0. EDG gonna close out from there. Back-to-back games with more than 20 kills in a game. Clearlove is saying, maybe I don't even need to play in this series. 2-0 EDG. Game 3 was a great early game for Rogue Warriors. This time they don't lose the Baron, and they clean up the fight in their favor this time. DoinB had a good game on the rise. They close out from that Baron to send this one 2-1, which means, Haro, your mission for error, your room for error is tiny. You lose one game. Clearlove is coming in for game 4. It's the man who all he does is win LPL titles. And you had iBoy on the Varus again. Clearlove comes in, plays the Trundle, and it's another dominant performance from EDG. Comes down to, again, another Baron fight where they go and clean this one up. EDG looked like they were miles and miles ahead of the Rogue Warriors in this one. Clearlove only has to play 1 game. The man who has 5 LPL titles to his name. You see here, Scout completely wins this last fight for them. He ends up with a quadra kill. iBoy went down early on in that fight, so it was Scout doing work. EDG advanced to the finals, and again, Clearlove looking to add to his 5 LPL titles. So after a wild semifinal weekend, we're left with EDG and RNG in the finals. Rematch of 2017 summer. We all know how that played out. The reverse sweep from EDG. RNG so close. Uzi so close to getting his first LPL title. No doubt he'll be looking at redemption in these finals. And after all this action, crazy ups and downs, new teams bursting onto the scene in the LPL, again, what are we left with? An RNG versus EDG final. The man who stood out in this set was definitely Scout in that mid lane. He basically closed out the series there with a quadra kill to win it for the team. He also had a Baron steal in game 2 on the Talia. He was fantastic throughout the set, over 77 kill participation. He really got the upper hand of DoinB in this matchup. And one of the main catalysts as to why EDG won this set, there were a couple guys that pretty much across the board, EDG played super well. Mako on his Thresh, which, by the way, he was 34, now 35-6 in the history of the LPL on that champion, which is disgusting. So EDG, RNG this upcoming weekend for the LPL Finals. Winner books their ticket to MSI. It is sure to be an exciting one. It always is whenever these guys match up. Coming up after the break, there are some more MSI spots on the line in the MLS Grand Finals. And are there going to be some roster moves for KSV in the offseason? We are back on League Unlocked in a beautiful Monday evening. My name is Eric Hummel. Thank you guys very much for watching. It was a busy weekend, not only for MSI qualifications, but also just, you know, history and teams. A lot of teams winning consecutive splits, and we're talking about the LMS Grand Finals, where you had Flash Wolves taking on G-Rex, who were some guys who really burst onto the scene and were really dominant, took a set off of Flash Wolves in the regular season. But in the Grand Finals here, it was Flash Wolves proving that they are the cream of the crop in the LMS, and specifically Maple. In game 1, first he has this 4-man Cassiopeia ult, which is absolutely nutty. It actually doesn't lead to that much, but it's an insane ultimate nonetheless. And later on in the Baron Pit, he completely turns a fight around that looks like Flash Wolves are probably going to lose, but he lands this insane Flash Cassiopeia ultimate on 3, and then Betty's able to clean it up with a triple kill. So basically single-handedly winning the Flash Wolves the game in this one. They would take game 1. In game 2, you had a absolutely insane fight in the bottom lane. By the way, I love these little light up flashy things. it looked great, the little beat together thunder sticks noise. Game 2, this insane team fight bottom. You have Sword Art living with 13 health or something absurd like that, unable to get the kill, and then eventually Stitch is the one who goes down, and then you got Betty with this sick play, flashes over the Tahm Kench to take down the Talia, and gets the Sejuani. Sick play out of him. By the way, Wuji in for game 2 for G-Rex after Candy got the start in game 1. That team fight, eventually G-Rex actually got back into the game. They had a big lead early on, actually, despite that turnaround. But the Baron fight goes in the favor of Flash Wolves. They lock up the big purple worm. They take game 2 to go up 2-0 in a pretty convincing turnaround in that game. And game 3, it was just all Flash Wolves. They put up a dominant performance, clearly in control here. Mugen and Hanabi, the 2 new players on this team for this split, have looked fantastic the entire regular season, and that is number 5 in a row for the Flash Wolves that they've won the LMS title championship, whatever you'd like to call it. And obviously, they booked their ticket to MSI for the 2nd straight split. They got out of groups last year at MSI, so we'll see if they can continue to perform that well. People are a little down on the overall level of the LMS, especially after Flash Wolves had such a dominant split. Even though G-Rex looked pretty good, they clobbered them pretty handily in the grand finals. And one of the reasons why they clobbered them is because of Maple in that mid lane. We looked at those game 1 Cassiopeia ultimates that were pretty game-changing. He was also just key in all these wins for Flash Wolves. And he continually, along with Sword Art, whenever these guys play internationally, it's always Maple and Sword Art are the guys who can compete at an international level and are truly world-class in their respective roles. And that seems to still be the case for Maple. Yeah, Betty was still one of the premier AD carries in the LMS, and Mugen and Hanabi are kind of more unproven guys because, well, it's their first split with the team, so we'll see what they can do at an international level. But there was a lot of hype for G-Rex coming in here. You got Toys as the coach, Stitch, former Samsung AD carry, PK, their top laner, earned MVP honors in the regular season. They get demolished by Flash Wolves 3-0, so we'll see if they can rebound in summer. But today is not the day that the kings of the LMS were dethroned. Shout out to all the MLS fans. Go TFC, right, guys? Also, 2018 LCK Summer Promotion Tournament. We already saw that Griffin qualified by beating MVP, but MVP had a chance at redemption taking on KDM, the Kongdu Monsters, who were far and away the worst team in the spring split in the LCK. These guys had a best-of-5 winner. Gets to return to the LCK in 2018. And it was MVP coming away with it in a 5th and decisive game. But this was actually a pretty close series. 3 of the 5 games went past 40 minutes. This one hovered just around the 40-minute mark. KDM played a lot better in this set than I was expecting. They looked like hot duty a lot of the time in the spring regular season, but they came up to play in this set. Obviously, it wasn't quite good enough. They're heading down to the challenger scene in Korea. But MVP, for how terrible a start they had in spring, they actually were competing with some of the top teams in the LCK, taking them to 3 games at the very least. So congratulations to MVP. They return for the summer split in the LCK. But I'm just mostly curious about how well Griffin, the new kids on the scene, will perform in the LCK. Again, all 5 members never played in the LCK before, so we'll see what they can put up come summer. A team who also had a disappointing summer, wasn't disappointing enough to get them the promotions, but KSV, the defending world champions, finished 5th. They lost in the wild card round to SKT, and now the rumor mills are swarming. Well, it's not really rumor mill. Invin is reporting that they are looking for a new top laner and mid laner, not necessarily to start over the likes of QV and Crown, but they are looking to have guys in as subs to maybe throw the pressure on them and kind of force them to play better, because they both did slump a little bit, but really the entire roster did. The criteria they're looking for, by the way, for a new top laner and mid laner, in case you want to apply, is no previous boosting experience. That's good to not have with a new guy. And above master tier, master or above in Korean solo queue. So that's all you got to do. That's their 2 methods of requirements to get to apply to this position. So their application process you can find on Invin if you're a master tier or higher in Korea and don't have any previous boosting experience. Whoever they get, you've got to imagine QV and Crown are still going to be starting. And if they continue to slump, hopefully these subs can come in. But there's got to be something to change for KSV because they definitely had a disappointing spring season. We'll see if they can rebound in summer 2018. Coming up after the break, 2 more teams qualify for MSI 2018, and Origen are on to the semifinals at the EU Masters. Hello everybody, welcome back to League on Lock. My name is Eric, and we saw Flash Wolves already qualify for MSI 2018 after the LMS, I always say MLS, LMS Grand Finals. Also, there's the EU Masters going on. There's no MSI implications going on here, but you do get to see your boys from Origen, Froggen and Forgiven playing. They were in quarterfinal action over the weekend, taking on NIP, Ninjas in Pajamas. You guys remember them. They used to be in the LCS, and they used to be terrible. Well, they went to a 3-game set. It took them 3 games, and in that first game, it was a nail biter. It was way back and forth. NIP had a lead. They had an inhibitor down until Forgiven, absolutely 3 shots. The NIP 80 carry to get back in there, and then this Elder fight. Forgiven goes aggressive, flashes into the back line, gets the Kaisa to fall. He goes down as well, but 4 live on and remember his name for Origen. They close out game 1. Game 2, NIP took in a pretty convincing fashion, and then here in game 3, it all came down to this fight in the bottom lane. It's a bot lane party. Everybody's showing up. It's eventually going to result in an expect triple kill on the gangplank. Froggen looked clean on the Swain, and Origen is all maybe not as convincing as people would have liked to see out of this team because, again, they had an incredible amount of hype despite not ever playing together for more than a couple of days before this tournament started. But Origen does take this one 2-1. They advance to the semifinals, which get underway this weekend. I mean, if they didn't make it to the semifinals, a lot of people would be disappointed. So the fact that they at least make it there is good for this squad. One of the sad things we saw after this match, a tweet from Forgiven basically saying he's not going to be playing in 2018 and he'll probably miss the majority of 2019, which I know people were kind of expecting because he's got his military service that it sounds like he's going to be doing out in the Greek army. But it is too bad we're not going to be seeing this guy in the LCS because he looks, for having not played that much lately, he still looks pretty amazing on that squad. Another guy who looked amazing in that set was Froggen. This is a guy I'm hoping we do see in the 2018 LCS, whether in EU or NA. He was super solid in this series. The Swain, he played Zoe. Even in the game they lost, he looked really good on that Zoe. He can play Talia. He definitely got the upper hand in the mid lane matchup in this set. This guy is the OG Dane in the mid lane, by the way. Not just OG because Origen. Before Bjergsen even, this was the Dane in the mid lane. Especially now, Anivia's somewhat meta. Who knows if that'll stay true heading into the summer split. But I mean, you got to get this guy on an LCS squad. EU, NA, it doesn't matter. I want to see Froggen playing in the LCS. Again, EU Masters semifinal action this weekend. Origen's going to be there. The grand finals also on the Sunday, semis on Saturday. So no MSI implications in that one, but there were MSI implications out in Turkey. The TCL Supermassive taking on RBE, Royal Bandit Esports. A lot of familiar names in and outside of the Turkish league in this matchup. Supermassive, you got GBM, formerly of CJ, and of course, who can forget his fantastic time on NRG, and a Snowflower, formerly of Jin Air, also in the LCK. This one needed 4 games, but it was Supermassive, convincingly in control. They kind of, I'm gonna just say, fell asleep in game 3, where Royal Bandits had a pretty convincing win their way, but it was Supermassive, far and away the better team in this matchup. They win their 2nd Turkish league title, and good for GBM and Snowflower. Good to see them performing well. And you know, people are actually pretty riding pretty high on the Supermassive squad. People think they could actually make some legit noise in the MSI, at least in the play-in stage, maybe getting to that main group draw. GBM looked pretty good. Septed was actually maybe outperforming him in some of these games, but Zeitnot and Snowflower completely destroyed Holy Phoenix and Dumble Doge in this matchup. Zeitnot obviously was the Turkish All-Star AD carry at All-Stars 2017, and Snowflower, who was the man of this series, he was playing out of his mind on these playmaking champions, the Rakan, couple Thresh games, and the Morgana. His skill shots were on point, 87% kill participation. He was getting everything rolling for his squad in this series, and I mean, we know this guy. He was fantastic at times. At times, he was fantastic in his stint in the LCK. So excited to see this guy on the global stage. You got to feel like Supermassive are one of the team favorites overall, though, to get out of the play-in stage when it comes to MSI, especially because Turkey as a region has actually been pretty solid the last few splits. You saw Fenerbahce get out of the play-in stage in Worlds last year, and they finished like tied for 5/6 in this Turkish season. So Supermassive, maybe they're actually pretty legit, especially, I mean, the teams that have buys right to the play-in knockout stage are now going to be Flash Wolves and Evos. So I think Supermassive might actually make some noise. Another team who made some noise at Worlds last year was Rainbow 7 out of the Latin North American League. Rainbow 7 obviously probably doesn't sound familiar. Well, they used to be Lion Gaming, who you're probably a little bit familiar with. They took on Infinity Esports in the finals out in the LLN, and they won 3-1, booked their tickets to MSI. The key play you got to look at from this series came in Game 3. Sia on the Azir. You have this big team fight going around Elder Dragon, but Infinity, you forgot about the Azir. He just waltzes down the mid lane, flashes for a little bit of style points, and just whacks the Nexus 10 times, wins the game. Game 3 goes in the favor of Rainbow 7, and they're calm, cool, and collected. Not that excited. You know, I just backdoored the Nexus. You know, routine, casual stuff. Game 4 was a convincing win in their favor as well. And again, their reactions, well, they're not that excited. Great, we won the title. But why are they not that excited? Because they've won 10 in a row. 10 in a row. No other team has won 10 domestic titles in a row. That's absolutely insane. They are far and away the dominant team in that region. We'll see how they can perform on an international stage. It's a little different to Turkey, where it was a lot more competitive. But I will say this for Rainbow 7 heading into MSI. Last year, their star AD carry, White Lotus, looked like a world-class marksman. He wasn't playing with them this entire season because he was banned. He will be back for MSI. So this squad might be looking a whole lot different. You might have even more confidence in them going forward with your main man, White Lotus, in that bottom lane for them. That was a guy who I was pretty hyped up about after their Worlds play-in, and I thought maybe he'd come to NA. He's going to stay in the LLN, and they are going to be a very interesting team to check out in MSI 2018. There's only one spot left at MSI, and that will be decided at this weekend's LPL final between RNG and EDG. But that's all the time for today. My name's Eric Hummel. Thank you guys for watching.